late. I'm running late for my first day of graveyard tour. Shit, I think I started without me. They started without me. It's okay. This is the graveyard. I just ran here. I'm just gonna walk in, see what happens. He's actually dressed up like a grave keeper. I'm sweating. I'm fucking sweating. Oh my gosh. Just called out my name.
Sorry, everyone else wants to go for a walk. Stay on path out there.
All good, thank you.
So all you missed out on is hi, my name's Daniel. Welcome
Daniel.
to the cemetery.
Great, thank you. Sorry guys.
Now I do have two rules that I'm going to ask for you to follow. The first is to please pay attention, not just as you walk around, but if you're anything like me and you find it difficult to stand still. We have burial markers that are only as big as a bloody good hamburger, rare to find these days, but they're at ankle height and they will trip you over. Like I said, it's not just when you're walking. If you're like me and you can't stand still, you'll end up A over T. Now, not paying attention, that leads me into my second rule, my most important rule, because it's the only issue I've ever had to fill out an incident report for, and I don't want to have to do that again. Paperwork sucks. You'll see that I walk backwards. I've done this tour for 3.5 years. Please do not walk backwards. You don't know where you're going. I know where you're going. You're going to end up A over T. That's where you're going. It sucks. And the only person that has had that happen, well, she fell onto a glass dome. Oh. She was airlifted the following day. Oh. I don't say this lightly when I ask you not to walk backwards. Please take my warning seriously. Even though I've got a smile on my face, paperwork really does suck, and I don't wish that on anyone. Sure. I mean, it happened within 10 minutes of the tour, so obviously no one got the tour, and I don't want you guys to miss out. Now, Charleville was settled back in 1865 here on Bidjara land, and I will quickly take a moment to acknowledge the traditional custodians, the Bidjara people, paying my respects to the elders of past, present, and emerging. Now, the Bidjara, they lived out here for thousands of years. They knew the conditions like the back of their hand. Unfortunately for those early settlers, they had no idea what they were getting themselves into, did they? They would die prematurely from floods, fires, diseases, droughts, even the occasional poisoning. Now, before you ask, I don't know if any of those poisonings involved mushrooms. But of course, over this 160-year timeline, we would go on to strive and thrive. But of course, we did lose a few people along the way. If you have a look at our lovely cemetery, there are 5,621 residents in here now. You may also notice that they're all facing in a similar direction. Does anyone know what direction they aim for? Absolutely. It ties us back to our Christian roots, that on the day of rapture, when Jesus and that sun rises, so too will they. For that I say I'm bloody glad I do my tour in the afternoon, because that would give me a heart attack and I would not be going with them. But all the fun stuff aside, let's begin our journey. And as we walk around, I'm going to share with you a little bit of cemetery pub trivia knowledge. As we begin, of course, I'm going to start walking backwards. But the first of... What was that? Absolutely. I mean, if you don't, eventually, as good as my voice is, it will figure off. Now, the first of the cemetery knowledge I have for you is, of course, the origin of the word cemetery. It is derived from a Greek word, cemetron, that means dormitory or resting place. Quite the fitting name, as hopefully these residents are at rest. Now, the first of the residents that I'm going to introduce you to, well, they were an integral part of this community during those early formative years. In fact, not just Charleville, but a lot of these rural towns probably wouldn't be here today without the involvement of the Chinese. Unfortunately, the Chinese that came out, they didn't have family with them, and a lot of them would be left in unmarked graves. We do have 14 unmarked graves just in here, 2 of which are identified by these lovely burial markers just here. They did all at one stage have those markers, but unfortunately flood waters would wash them away. Without the family here kicking up a stink, it wasn't really a priority of council. However, our caretaker, he knows just the integral part of this community they were, and he wants to turn this area into a commemorative Chinese garden, honouring their contribution. Now, through the 1880s, from the 1880s through to the 1950s, by what is now Gowrie's Crossing, the Chinese would establish essentially their own Chinatown and a vibrant market garden. This garden would essentially keep Charleville out of something that we now only associate with sailors: scurvy. With that fresh produce, this town was able to thrive. Unfortunately, by the 1950s, most of the Chinese had either passed away or moved on from town. That means this area is going into disrepair, and of course, the council was never going to have a bar of that. They buy back that land, sell it on as a few properties, and what is now our citrus farm. They do lemons and limes, and I, as someone with a horticultural background, am stoked because those Chinese spent 70 years working their blood, sweat and tears into this soil, changing it from this lifeless sandy stuff to essentially what you find in bags of potting mix. So to at least have some of that land still being used as farmland, bloody good on them. You may notice here amongst these, we do have 2 graves with plaques and borders. The simple reason as to why is Ancestry.com. Their descendants using this would find out they had family buried out here in Charleville. With a bit of an email back and forth, eventually money is sent out to have this work carried out. Photographs were sent through to the family, and to this day they have still not set foot in Charleville, let alone Australia. But I love that they wanted to honour their ancestors enough that they spent the money to do this. As we walk around our lovely cemetery, you will notice there are a lot of unmarked graves just with those markers. Something a lot of people don't know about the West, it's pretty much like what those country western movies make it out to be. A lot of people that came out here were running from trouble, trying to escape their families. And that is seen out here with a sea of these unmarked graves. It's not to say that they weren't loved, it's just to say that they weren't known. We are going to continue our journey heading up this way now. As we do, I just want to quickly ask, has anyone here done the Hotel Coronis tour?
No.
No, that's all right. The reason why I ask is Rachel, the tour guide there, usually sets a little bit of homework. The next resident is of course going to be that wonderful man himself, Harry Coronis. Now as we arrive at his resting place, have a look over his headstone. There are 2 mistakes on it. One, you'll only find if you had done that tour previously and were paying attention. The other mistake, it fits in so nicely that don't worry if you don't find it, because I'd only say about 10% of people on my tours do find it. But as you come through, be careful of the pipe cover, please. Again, paperwork sucks. But the man himself is right here waiting. If you just come on in somewhere in amongst this green post or further out, whatever floats your goat, this is where Haralambos, Harry Papa Koronis, is resting his feet.
I read that today.
Now Harry, he is a Greek immigrant who arrives in Australia in the early 1900s. He makes his way to Charleville, where as a young entrepreneur, he is looking for something to sink his teeth into. In 1909, he establishes the Paris Cafe, the first hospitality-based type industry that he has run. Thankfully, he's pretty bloody good at it. To the end that the leaseholder to the Hotel Charleville comes along and, mate, I reckon you'd do a bang-up job. Take over the lease. Unfortunately for Harry, as an immigrant, he did not hold his publican's license. As an entrepreneur, that was never going to stop this man in the slightest. He goes on to get his publican's license. In fact, he is the first Greek immigrant in Australian history to take on his innkeeper's license. Quickly following this, he does take the lease to the Hotel Charleville. He will run this successfully for the next 3 years, but a flood comes through, wiping this structure. He does have some grand ideas, however, for that rebuild. Unfortunately, so too does the owner. Harry quite quickly realizes if he's going to make his own mark on this town, he needs to give up that lease. In doing so, Harry goes on to create the Taj Mahal of the West, the opulent Hotel Koronis. In its heyday, it is considered the peak, the pinnacle of luxury. It is not for that high, opulent, embossed ceiling or that luxurious, continuous timber bar. The draw card, it's of course the ensuite bathrooms. These days, every hotel room's got its own bathroom, but 100 years ago, you were lucky to be using a shared bathroom inside. When you were unlucky, you had an outhouse out the back. Now this man, not only is he an entrepreneur, he is very civil-minded. He sits on the hospital board for 53 years, the fire brigades board for a little under 20, and he was even a founding board member for the golf and bowls clubs in town. He really did have his fingers in a lot of pies. If you want to know his story from a better source than me, I do recommend Rachel's tour. Before we leave, I want to draw your attention to this bell, which of course is here for his high quality service out at that hotel. He was always known for a bell to ring, he was in attendance. I don't want to start the zombie apocalypse, so I'm not ringing it. But a bit more symbolistic of a cemetery are these torches. They do represent a guiding light to help the departed to see their way into the afterlife. I did mention that there were 2 mistakes on here.
I can see one.
You found one of them? All right, lay it on us. What did you find?
So it says wife of Harry, father,
Absolutely.
rather than mother.
Effie Nana Koronis, the beloved wife of Harry, father of Peter.
It's a shame.
You definitely would have read over it, but I guarantee you, without knowing how old Harry was, you would not know that he died at 88, not at 90.
Oh,
Don't say that.
That's why I ask if anyone did the tour, because unless you were paying attention, you ain't going to get that. In 1990, when that flood came through, the original headstone was destroyed. By the time the replacement was made and installed, there were no Koronis family members here. By this point in time, 5 months later, they would arrive. They would see the mistakes. They'd contact these stonemasons who say, it's been a little while, mate. If you want us to do something, you're gonna have to pay. So the Koronis family decided, well, you can't really see it that well unless you are told that there is a mistake there. So it's been left. it does give me that opportunity to see who pays attention during Rachel's tour. Otherwise, yeah, a lot of you didn't notice, so can't be that bad. No. To be honest, it is not the only headstone here with mistakes. Throughout the 3 years that I've done this, I've added people, removed people from the tour, and I've found at least 5 different headstones that have mistakes. Back then, without computers and things, it was a lot harder to say, hey, you've made a mistake, get this fixed. Without a family here to kick up a stink, it was never really rectified. So there are quite a few. There is one here that was the first white lady of Charleville. We'll continue walking this way as I tell this story. She was the first white lady here in Charleville. She was not born in Charleville. On her dates there it says 1865 through to 1912, aged 77. Well, if you subtract those, you only get 47 years. They missed out on 30 years of her life because Charleville was settled in 1865, so they didn't really care about anything prior than that. It's really interesting that both the mistakes are on there, which you can quite clearly make the connection if you read. For that one, at least with no date of birth, date of death on there, you don't know that that 90 is incorrect. And if you read beloved wife of Harry, father of, Harry being the father of, if you've read it fast enough, it made sense. But that, you just had to do a little bit of maths and you worked out that it was wrong. Right now, however, I would love to introduce you to the lovely Harold, Harry Hawkins. Now, Harry here, he was an Indigenous fellow born in Charleville in the late 1890s. He's born during a time where the Indigenous are not allowed to join the armed forces. Having a look at the bottom of his marker, you can see the AIF, the Australian Imperial Force. The reason for that is, in those first few weeks of World War I, recruitment officers head from town to town to make sure that every able-bodied man is part of conscription. During their time here in Charleville, they're hearing stories of a horsebreaker like no other. He is a champion rough rider, bareback horse riding, and the stories would even go as far as to say not a single horse ever threw this man to the ground. The recruitment officers knew they needed him, and eventually they would run into a young Harry. He tells them that he's tried to join up, but he does not have a birth certificate. They don't want anything to do with him. Well, the recruitment officers, they wanted everything to do with this man. And to make this possible, a couple of stamps later, they would produce a birth certificate of 1897, which has Harry just old enough for conscription. He is, of course, signed up to the remount division. Thankfully, that is who he wanted. It is their duty to break in these horses, prepare them for the battles ahead, and they'd take them to the front lines. They didn't take part in the battles. That was the Light Horse Brigadesmen. Their talents were seen as far too valuable to be lost to a stray bullet. Harry, along with thousands of other Aussies, are sent to various locations throughout the Middle East. Harry himself is stationed in Mahdi, Cairo, Egypt. And during his time over there, not only does he break in horses, but he goes on to train his own regiment in the way that his ancestors had taught him. Now, rather than living up to the name of breaking in a horse and making it submit to his will, the Indigenous, their way was bonding with these animals. And through this, his regiment was known to be one of the best during these campaigns in Cairo. He comes back to Australia, where he moves to a property to the east of town, and over the next 19 years he works as a horsebreaker. At the time of his passing, his body is returned to his family, his mob, where over the course of the next week they take part in their ceremonies. Unfortunately, at this point in time, what was once a sacred Bidjara burial site has gone through some industrial revolution. Anyway, the sacred burial... Sometimes I change what I'm saying, and I shouldn't. I should stick with what I know. What was once a sacred burial site would go on to become the Charleville Water Tower. The AIF have learnt of this, and they would pay for this plot and install this marker themselves. You need to remember at this time, war graves didn't exist. They didn't have government funding. But these fellas were resourceful, and they would use whatever they could. And in this case, it was, of course, train sleepers. He's not the only one here that has it. There is another one about 11 graves down. He's actually a white fella. This was done by the AIF, regardless of colour, as a way to honour those who fought for this country. I have since contacted war graves, about 5 people, these 2 included. But unfortunately, bureaucracy says that this is going to take a 5-year process. One day I'll come here and it'll be done. But until then, I guess I get to bitch a little bit about bureaucracy. So it's still a little win-win. But if you'd like to follow me, I am going to strip this jacket off. I am dying. I do apologise if I now have a massive sweat mark on my back. I will now walk backwards for the rest of the time.
There's a lot of kids.
Absolutely. It's quite interesting that a lot of cemeteries or graveyards, I guess, have children's sections. A lot of the older ones, they didn't, because they just put the children throughout. It's interesting that there are quite a number of children's graves that are full size as well.
Yes, I know that. Oh, that's obviously kids on the ground.
Yes.
What's the Harry's?
I don't know if it had anything to do with good old Harry Coronis, maybe. Yeah, there are surprisingly a lot of Harrys. If you just continue just down to this red post here, I'm coming over this side so I can hide that sweat patch on my back.
Did you say there's no family of the Coronis here anymore? They're all
No,
gone.
they're in surrounding towns or in cities and stuff. When I say not here anymore, I just mean in town.
Yeah.
Definitely still alive. The Coronis family lives on. I do apologise if anyone is smelling that smell. It's not me, I promise. It is unfortunately the sewage treatment plant just behind us. Of course, the dead don't complain, but sometimes my guests do. This right here, this is Dimitri James Chiklis. He is a Greek immigrant coming through on the success of Harry Coronis. He too would run a cafe that during World War II, any diggers that came through, they got to eat free of charge. The Yanks, however, he charged them double. They didn't know the conversion rate, and quite frankly, they were more than happy to pay to have a meal cooked by not a fellow soldier. Now at this time, Pagana, she too is a Greek immigrant. She is a tailor over back in Greece of men's fine suits. She lives with her grandparents, and as fate would have it, right next door are Dimitri's grandparents. I use the word fate because, well, an arranged marriage is arranged between the two. Pagana is sent out by boat. It takes 3 weeks for her to arrive. Luckily, when she does, she falls in love with Dimitri. They've made their way out here to Charleville, where he runs that cafe. She saved a bit of money and she buys herself a Singer sewing machine. She's decided though that men's suits, that's a thing of the past. She wants to move on to elegant ladies' dresses. And I believe the reason for this is her passion, her imagination. When the ladies came in, they said what they wanted. Pagana would measure them, and then at that point, she got to work. She never once used a pattern. And these dresses were that wonderful that any time a ball or fancy event happened, not just in Charleville, but the surrounding towns, you could guarantee at least 1 or 2 ladies were wearing a dress by Pagana. Bless you. During this time, they would have 2 children. Stavros, last I heard, he went out to the Gold Coast and is having an absolute blast. Nick, he remained here in Charleville, where he would get married and have 3 children. Unfortunately, you can see 2 of his children are buried here before him. James, at 10 years old, is involved in a pigging hunt accident in which he would fall from the back of the ute and he would break his neck. Anna here at 23 is involved in a car accident that would tragically not only take her life, but her unborn child as well. This sends Nick into a spiral, as it would any of us. It's not the last blow he has dealt. His wife files for divorce. He is now at his lowest point. He has hit rock bottom. But this town, they rally behind this man. They help to lift his spirits, to raise his head, and in time, he smiles once again. He gets remarried and has 3 more children. Nick is still here in town today, and I've gotten the chance to talk with him. He is wonderful, and he says that if not for this town, he may not still be here at all. For as sad part of this story is, I do love getting to share it because it shows just what these rural communities are like. However, the next red post, that's a bit more city hospitality. It's not as nice, but I'll wait till we get there to share that with you. Would you like to continue to walk down with me? You may have noticed we have a lot of tiled graves. This did originate with the Greek immigrants who would choose blues and whites, their national colours. The locals out here thought that looked bloody brilliant, but they didn't need fancy colours. They were happy with the browns that those tilers had at the time. The reason why the tilers had plenty of those browns, well, just about every bathroom that was done here at that point had these exact tiles. I can confirm this because before I renovated, those were the tiles my bathroom had. This lovely lady that I'm going to speak of next, she would be turning in her grave if she knew I went from bathroom tiles to her. To her. This is Sylvia Joyce Claire Ferguson, and she was always dressed to the nines, a face full of makeup and her hair in curls. Her lavish lifestyle is afforded to her thanks to her beer baron husband, Roy Ferguson. They would live out in Hamilton, Brisbane, and it is here that Roy owns multiple pubs. As far as the stories went, he also had a bit of a problem with drinking and a bit of an attitude problem to go along with it. To the point, Sylvia here decides to take a hit out on her husband. This was back in 1952, and that hit is for £2,500. Today's exchange, it's just a smidge over $100,000. She really didn't like him. She even adds in the deed to a pub as well. And I've thought about it, 100,000 owning my own pub, but I don't think I could kill someone. Sylvia's boyfriend, on the other hand, he could. Sylvia, her boyfriend, and his mate, they get together. A few days later in the evening, Sylvia will leave the house unlocked. The two fellas make their way inside, and that hit is carried out with a claw hammer.
Oh. What year was this?
1952. Now, they did not do a very good job of it because Roy survives, at least until the following day. He does succumb to his injuries in hospital, but he has had enough time to tell the police what had happened. Those two fellas are quickly rounded up where they sing like canaries. Sylvia is promptly arrested. A trial quickly follows suit, looking to convict all 3 of them. The tabloids, they're running wild with this story. Australia is enthralled, and it is not for the gruesome details, nor is it for the fantastic nickname that the tabloids would create, Hammerhead. But all of Australia just wants to know, what is Sylvia going to wear tomorrow? She attends court wearing 200-pound mink coats. That's about an $8,000 jacket, folks. That's a $20 jacket from the Salvos. I couldn't imagine spending that much, but that's just, like I said, who she was. November of 1952 rolls around, and this trial comes to an end. A guilty verdict is handed down, life imprisonment in Boggo Road Jail. Back then, however, life imprisonment was only 10 years. because she is released for good behaviour. In 1963, she decides Hamilton's no longer for her and she moves out here to Charleville. She makes numerous friends during the course of her time here, and she would pass peacefully in 2002. A few of these friends would help in piecing together her story, and one little tidbit I have to share with you because it really hammers home, it really reiterates just how vain this lady is. Every night before Sylvia went to bed, she would reapply her face of makeup just in case she passed away. She knew no coroner could make her look as beautiful as she could herself. And this is what her friend told me verbatim. So, yeah, that's just who she was.
Did her friends know what she'd done?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, like I said, she really was a lovely lady. A lot of people who I've spoken with and other locals that didn't really care for her or didn't care about her, like, they'd come on my tour and they're like, oh yeah, that's Hammerhead. I'm like, shut up. It's one of my things. Don't ruin it. And they're like, you know, we never had anything bad against her, but yeah, she was a lovely lady, made some nice friends. She, even though obviously being found guilty, she didn't get to keep any pubs or any of the money, proceeds of crime, she still had the clothes, so she still liked to keep up appearances. Realistically, maybe her name should have been Bouquet. Some of you may get that joke.
Did she serve the full time or did she get
Yeah, 10 years.
She served the
Yeah, so that's it. So she got 10 years and the fellas, they only got 11 years. So they were out the next day.
life now is only 8 years.
Is it? I thought it was 25 to life.
It used to be.
Used to be
Well, that's what I...
ago.
Well, when you look at it, prison systems these days are so overcrowded. It makes sense. Why give someone, so many people, life sentences if you're not actually going to give them a life sentence? Just say 10 years and then you're out. As we walk away, I just want to say I feel sorry for Paddy because not only is he next to Hammerhead, he's also next to Mallet. If we have a zombie apocalypse, I hope that cement keeps him down just a little bit longer. And I do want to ask, amongst everyone here, does anyone happen to know the difference between a graveyard and a cemetery? Or that there even was a difference for that matter? Well, this, as you see, this is a cemetery. There is no church. To be classed as a graveyard, they need to be on the premises of the church. So, yeah, holy or consecrated ground. I find this interesting because before any burial, the priest consecrates the ground before you go in. So technically everywhere is consecrated ground, but yeah, no church, no graveyard. This time I will get you to follow me through because the next resident is just here behind me. Now as you all arrive here and have a look at his stone, you'll see just exactly what William Bill Mugger Wilson did for a job. Now this man, he would be a gun shearer. He was one of the best. He works his back day in, day out for around 21 years. At this point, his back's getting a little sore. He needs to start doing something else. So he would go on to become the secretary of the Dirranbandi branch of the AWU. Now the Australian Workers' Union, back then at least, was a union looking after the salt of the earth blue collar folk out here. These days some unions are just after a bit of money, but let's leave that behind, because when he was there he would experience being blackballed during a 1956 shearers strike. Blackballing is essentially the heavies are sent out, they put you in a corner and say, you do what we say or else, mate. But unfortunately, those heavies are up against ex-shearers like Mugger, who stood their ground, practically laughed in their face and said, no bloody way, mate. This strike, it lasts 8 months in New South Wales and 13 months here in Queensland. Ultimately, it ends successfully. It is over a pay dispute thanks to the price of wool decreasing due to the Korean War. Unfortunately, these greedy shearing station owners would decrease wages a little too much. Mathematicians of this day have worked out that these station owners had ended up losing about 80% in profits during that time. Had they have just paid the original wage, they would have only lost about 30% in profits, though still a loss, a lot less. Now he, just like practically everyone out here back then, they were Labor Party supporters. Charleville to this day is still considered a Labor stronghold. Personally, I don't really care who gets in power because they both tell you the same thing and no one ever follows through. Oh, the other party stopped me from doing... Let's not go on in politics. Let's end on a high note that this man was a cordial maker. Unfortunately, the cordial he made would have had him fired from Cotties. What he called cordial, we now class as liqueur. He made a fine limoncello that the gentleman I spoke with about him said the only stuff he'd had better was made by a man in Italy. I am bitter about that because limoncello is actually my favourite to drink. Like I said, you can't win them all. He took that recipe with him to the grave, and I don't think that means that it was written on a piece of paper, so I'm not paying to have him. If you'd like to continue to follow me, we still have plenty more residents to meet. If anyone does have any questions, please feel free to ask them as we walk.
Can I just ask about, he would have died well after the white cone strike happened?
So that was 1890, 1891, I believe.
Oh no, white cones
No.
came in the 70s,
Oh, okay.
1970.
Oh, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
I know that he was born after the major strike in 1890-91.
Yeah.
During that strike, another gentleman that used to be on the tour, G.J. Fitzwalter, he owned a store out here that it was basically the you name it store. You name it, he had it. During that strike, we had Tent City all throughout the commons, through here, further down, and up into the city, up into the town. At this point, these people, they're on strike, they don't have money. So GJ realizes this and he creates his own money lending system that these days, they're known as shin plasters because apparently that's about all they're good for, just using as a band-aid. Back then, however, that meant putting bread on the table. That was essentially life or death for some of these people. So, though today it's not considered worth more than the paper it's on, back then it meant someone breathing for the next day. So that was, I really enjoyed telling about his story, but he's very much in the far corner and it takes a little while to get to there and we kind of ran out of time. But as we made it to this section, you may notice that these few graves are facing due east. Now, something back in the day that a lot of cemeteries did was they would be segregated by religion. This area, this is the old Church of England area, and I believe that they would put their foot down, or in this case their entire body, and they'd say, no, we want directly to the east. In amongst these is of course the oldest marked grave. Would you like to meet the person with that honour? At least someone said yeah. You'd be surprised. Sometimes today I get nothing and I'm thinking, well, I hope you're still enjoying yourselves. But the first person interred to the Charleville Cemetery is none other than Rosalie Carolyn Parry Okerton. Now Rosalie, she is born in Dorset, England in 1814, where at a young age her parents decide to move to Australia, specifically to Brisbane. During their time in Brisbane, Rosalie, she meets her future husband, David. He is a member of the Brisbane Police Force, and these two would fall in love. They get married and they have a child, William Edward. At this point in time, David realizes his job's a little bit risky. He wants to see his child grow up. So to do this, it's time for a new career. He saved up a bit of money, and at this point in time, Charleville is being formed. Properties are popping up all around. David and his family buy one to the south of town. They move in. They live there as cattlemen for the next 8.5 years. Unfortunately, in 1874, one afternoon, Rosalie decides to do some sewing, and when she would reach her hand into her sewing basket, she is bitten by an eastern brown snake. Unfortunately, back in 1874, we did not have anti-venom like we do today, of which we have 2 vials in at the hospital and 2 at the RFDS. I will let you know this since snakes are starting to wake up. Be aware of them, please. They will run, slither away from you more than they will attack you. Give them space and they'll fuck off. Excuse my language, sorry. That wasn't part of the tour, that's just me letting people know. At this point in time, David and their son William will stay here for the next 20 years. And during this time, David is trying to convince William to take over the family business. William decides to take over the old family business. He goes on to become a copper. And during that 20 years, he's worked his way through the ranks and he goes on to become the police magistrate here in Charleville. At this point in time, David realizes that his son is not going to take over. He's getting a little bit older and he has to sell up. He moves back out to Brisbane, and at this point in time, well, William has no parental guidance anymore. He is the only governing body here in Charleville at the time. I like to put in here that absolute power corrupts absolutely. For the next 10-year term, this man is considered a very petty man. At the time that his term ends and he stands down, he would willingly leave town. The story goes he was told that he either leaves town or he never leaves town. So he decides to move back out to Brisbane. And if you head out to Brisbane to the Balmoral Cemetery, you will see David, William and William's son Uverdale are buried out in that cemetery. They have bloody big headstones, of course they do. Why doesn't Rosalie? I don't know. But in her defence, when she was the first grave out here, what was the best grave here? There was nothing that could compare. But of course, these ones came in pretty quickly after. We will continue heading this way. I'm going to put my sunglasses back on because as I check over my shoulder, I'll be blinded and then I'm going to trip over. But I want to tell you the origin of 6 Feet Under and why this death was chosen. We're going to go back in time to the 13th century in England during the bubonic plague. In the times leading up to this, bodies are left for a week or two as they wait for the undertaker's assistant to come along with his cart to ring his bell and tell you to bring out the dead. Fun fact, this is where the saying dead ringer has come from. Now during the plague, the townsfolk, they start to think that it is from these bodies that the disease is being transmitted. So to stop this, they decide that they need to start burying people fast. And they would bury them in mass graves. These graves are between 30 and 50 foot wide, with a depth averaging 6 foot every time. Now the reason why is quite simple. The average height of an Englishman was only 5'6" back then. For them to dig past that 6 foot point and throw that shovel load of dirt over their shoulder, it wasn't worth the time and effort. Not only that, but they were already struggling to get out. 6 foot, deep enough. They start to use these graves. And of course, at this point in time, they're also starting to increase their hygiene levels through running water, sewage. But of course, as the disease starts to die back, they think it is from that death, that they have kept the disease away from everyone. So 6 foot is continued. We of course know that it was the hygiene, because this is why the rats out. The rats stopping animals from picking up your scent. It would also stop grave diggers from having enough time to reach your casket. By the time the sun rose, they weren't done, and they would generally get caught unless they were in a large group. Nowadays, we only bury people around 1.4 metres, about 4 foot. That's for a single
I
depth.
thought it was still 6
The double
foot.
depth is still 6 foot, 1.8 metres, and the triple burial is 2.2 metres a foot. They're not exact translations of sizing between each other, but I'm not going to sit here and give you points, decimal, full hundred. The reason we've now chosen a lower depth is because burying people at 4 foot puts them into an aerobic level in the soil, which helps with decomposition. The deeper you go, you're more likely to be in an anaerobic state, which slows down that decomposition. Right now, however, I'm going to talk a little bit about the lovely George and his brother, David. Now, the Espy brothers, as they were known, they were carriers down in Cunnamulla. As carriers, it is their job to take goods from the end of the train line through to their destination. Now, they would move to Charleville in 1887 and 1888, coinciding with the railroad arriving. For the next 15 years, they continue to be carriers. They've saved up their money, and it's time for something different. David, being the older brother, he decides to become a hotelier. The hotel he owns, the Carrier's Arms, carrying on that legacy of his previous employer. There's a little bit of sibling rivalry between him and George, only a little, not enough to decide that he wants to be in direct competition with him. To avoid this, he becomes a shopkeeper. The store that he would own is still in operation today out on Alfred Street. It is now Shooten's store, no longer in the Espy family, but it is the same store. A few pieces have been, of course, replaced after floods, but it is the same bones. Unfortunately, the Carrier's Arms is no longer with us. Standing where it once proudly stood is now the Cobb & Co Caravan Park. That where you're staying?
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's not a cemetery and you're buried on people. That was a lovely place. Now, visitors and the townsfolk loved these brothers to the point that they both go on to become mayor, not once, but twice each. When they were being mayor, it was only a single year term, but I'm pretty certain in that single year, the brothers got more done than what mayors do now in 4. I'm just going to wait a moment. You know what? This one's actually being really quiet. A lot of them, when they go past, just, let's see how loud I can get it. But you'll notice here there are a couple of cracks, and behind a massive cavity. This is a little of the destruction that occurred out here during that 1990 flood. A lot of this destruction occurred here thanks to Bradley's Gully. This would allow a lot of water to come through. In fact, the lovely, what are they called, stupid things? The flood marker, the Nilometer. The one we have here indicates the depth is 4 meters deep. Me with my hat, that's only 2 meters. You double that height to understand truly how deep the water was. We will continue walking now. Having the gully there, a current actually came through here, driving a lot of that destruction. If you look further back into the cemetery, you will see it is quite a lot lower. And a lot of that topsoil was taken away. Some of these graves were left in horrible condition. When you leave, if you come over to the flood marker here, you can actually see 3 pictures of some of these graves. I mean, if you Google Charleville Cemetery flood in 1990, you'll see probably more pictures than 3, but still. Thankfully now we do have the levee. It was put to the test only a year after it was established. they're now starting to bury people when they are declared dead. Unfortunately, not everyone that is declared dead is. Upon discovering various graves with scratch marks within the coffins, a gentleman by the name of Thomas Harding has a brilliant idea. Let's put a bell at the top with a long string that wraps around your wrist or your ankle. When you wake up in that coffin, you are going to freak out. That bell is going to ring, and hopefully you will be saved by the bell. The other saying that goes along with it, I don't think it holds such promise. And that saying is, of course, for who the bell tolls. That just to me maybe sounds like they didn't get there in time.
Any graves like that here?
What's that?
Is there any graves like that here?
No bells here. No, unfortunately. But I did have the idea, because my father is an IT nerd, loves tinkering with circuitry and stuff. He's going to make a wireless bell for me for next year. So when I mention that story, I'll ring the bell.
Everyone's just freaking out. Where's the sunset?
Yeah, I'm a little... Well, June will be perfect for that, because by 5:30 when I'm finishing, it's a lot darker. Now it's not as dark. It sucks, but I'm really keen to do it. But also, I don't want to make any new residents, so got to be a little careful with it. Right now, I do want to tell you a little bit about Anthony Kingsmill Brooke. Now, Tony, as he was known, was a pilot for the Royal Air Force. He's an Englishman. Now, he is here in Australia to do training flights in Australian planes. Here in Charleville, it is specifically the RAAF Boomerang. Tragically, it is these training flights that would be the cause of his death. And in fact, he is the only casualty of World War II here on Charleville soil. And at 21 years young, in one of these training flights in the Boomerang, he would experience wing flap failure. And through this, his plane would crash to the east of town, and he would, of course, lose his life. If you have a look at the bottom here, you can see Desideratissimus. This would mean most desired in Latin. And it is on servicemen's graves, not all of them, but some, because they were seen to fight for God and for country. When they passed, they were seen to be the most desired by God, and it would, of course, always be welcomed into heaven. I've always found that interesting. Thou shalt not kill, but in times of war, it's fine, go for it. Righto.
Yeah.
Now, more of his information is out at the World War II secret base. I can't tell you any more because it's a secret. But out at the RSL, where their rounded entranceway is, on the right-hand side, there is a fountain that is dedicated in his honour. As this is the last of the servicemen that I speak of in entirety, I do want to quickly take a moment to acknowledge all the men, women and folk who have given their time or even their lives for this country. I acknowledge their service and I want to thank them for it by ending my time here just by stating, lest we forget.
Lest we forget.
It blows me away when people actually respond. 9 times out of 10, I don't get something, or I'll just get 2 people that say it. When I've got a large group and everyone does it, it really warms my heart. I love it.
Like to get on their age too.
That too, I guess. Yeah. I did have someone, they've been going around knitting and crocheting poppies to put on soldiers' graves and to send through to somewhere that's trying to make 10,000 of them. And they left one here for him, and I just thought that was absolutely beautiful.
Absolutely. Do you have a crematorium here at all?
Nope. The closest one is back on the coast.
So they bring the ashes back.
What I'm more interested in is how do they send the body?
Oh.
That's,
Courier.
imagine being that courier. Yeah, you'd have to get a special courier. Of course, you'd have a chilling truck. Imagine being just a random driver being told, yeah, load this up. And, you know, it's in a cargo crate, so you've got no idea. Your truck breaks down and then someone tells you, no, you need to get that truck fixed. There's a body on there. You'd be freaking.
Yeah.
But something you might be noticing is a lot of the graves on this side are facing in the opposite direction. Originally, it is the fathers, priests, those of the cloth, and they would face in the opposite direction so they could watch over their flock. Here in Charleville, there's definitely not that many fathers, I don't think. Actually, you may notice that it's done on either side of the drive. It's aesthetically pleasing as you drive down to be able to look to either side. Personally, I hope you keep your eyes on the road. Well, most of you, actually all of you walked in here, so you're fine. Just quickly, I mentioned the bell, but you might be wondering who's listening for that in the middle of the night. It's the graveyard shift. And from sunset through till sunrise, their sole job is to sit by a fresh grave and listen for that bell. I love being here in the cemetery, but I'm not going to do that. I wouldn't even ring that bell. I'm not starting the zombie apocalypse. I have no part of it. I will run for the hills. And you may have noticed we have no hills. That's how far I'm running. Although, being that we've got a lot of Queenslander houses, maybe that might help. Anyway. Something I find interesting is that we do bury people. The reason why is, of course, religious. As per Genesis 3:19, which, being that I'm not religious, I don't know it exactly, but it does state, "From the ground we were made, to the ground we shall return." So they would decide to bury people. Why they put them in wooden boxes, I have no idea. If I'm going to be returned to the ground, I would have thought putting my body in the ground would return me. But, you know, each to their own. When I die, I'm getting buried in a cardboard box. I want my body to be able to push up daisies.
And they're more expensive than the wooden one.
What's that?
Cardboard's more expensive than the wooden.
How? It's
It just
cardboard.
is.
Yeah, it is.
It is got 2 grand more. You know,
Insane.
it's insane.
I'm making my own. I'll make it look. I'm going to get cardboard and I'm going to paint it to look like wood.
Yeah.
We saw one go out in fence posts
Yeah. Well, I also you
and on
can
a
bury,
digger.
yeah, you can bury people out here, out on your properties. What I have since learned that burying people on your property is burying their ashes. You cannot bury a body no more.
Yeah.
Which I find it quite interesting because if I'm just burying an urn, I ain't going to tell the council. They can find it one day when they dig it up. Good for you. Congratulations. You now are the owner of an urn. Anyway.
Can I tell you a story of a friend about a friend of mine?
Absolutely.
Her husband was cremated like 15 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and he had a plot in the crematorium, but she went in and took his ashes back out and buried his urn in the garden, buried them in her garden.
I've never
And I
understood.
often wonder with
The next owner.
no, with the crematorium, there'd probably be other people that do that. Yeah, she's got.
Yeah.
her
These
garden.
days they're only for 60
Yeah,
years.
she went to her permanent place she was going to stay, and she said, I wanted him to be with me.
Absolutely. I did have someone that came through on my tour and they told me that they live out in the middle of friggin' nowhere, so they can practically do what they want. Their dad was buried. He was only buried last year. They dug him back up to put him on his favourite couch. He's no longer in a coffin or anything. They only dug him up like 3 months later, so it wasn't that long. But they took him out of the coffin, put him on his favourite couch, put him down there. Apparently his arms are behind his head with his legs crossed, how he used to just sit on there. They've said the kids have said to Mum, the wife, when you die, we're going to dig it back up and you're getting put there on the couch next to him. And she was absolutely mortified. But they then said, you're dead, you're not going to argue, are you? And she said to me, I have no intention of dying anytime soon.
Gravediggers
So, fair enough.
The gravediggers will get a fright when they dig it up.
Well, like I said, it's not in a cemetery, it's in their property, in their yard. So they live in the middle of nowhere. It'll probably be 100 years before some great grandchild says, I'm going to sell up the property. maybe.
Yeah. There's lots of graves on properties, isn't there?
Absolutely, and I want to be one of them,
Yeah.
but no, I have to be a little jar. Anyway, let's talk about the legendary outback doctor himself, Dr. Louis Ariotti. This gentleman, he is born in Innisfail in 1913, where at a young age, he knows he wants to become a doctor. To achieve this, he goes on to the University of Sydney and obtains his doctorate in surgery. Unfortunately, as he does obtain this, World War II has broken out. He takes part on the front lines of Borneo and New Guinea. It is during this time that he would hone his surgical skills. He comes back home to Australia, where over the course of the next 7 months, he's decided that he wants to move to an outback town. He wants to give them access to a higher medical standard. He would choose Charleville. In 1947, when he buys his property in town, in his own backyard, he establishes his own consulting room and even his own operating theatre as well. In his own backyard, he takes part in surgeries from simple through to complex, appendectomies, tonsillectomies, and even brain surgery. This man, not only is he a bloody good surgeon, but he is considered a pioneer within the medical world. He would be one of the first here in Australia using radium as a treatment for cancer. They stopped for a while, as radium is highly carcinogenic, but they are starting once again. I need to find out why, because that is rather interesting. Not only this, but he would essentially start what we now know as day surgery. One of the few that starts it. Like I said, his operating theatre's in his backyard. He doesn't have beds for people to recover in. So when they have a simple surgery, he sends them on home. For the complex surgeries, they recover in the hospital. Some of the nurses who work at the hospital and with... Sorry, who's standing on my grave? So some of the nurses that work with Louis and out of the hospital, they notice that these people who have had that simple surgery and are sent home, they're recovering faster than those left at the hospital. They produce a paper that states 3 reasons why. The first being that Dr. Louis would have a higher sterilisation standard. This leads into point 2, in that in the hospital, you're surrounded by sick people. You have a higher chance to contract something from them. Now the third reason I find the most interesting, you could smoke in healthcare facilities back in the day. Now, of course, for the smokers, that's what they're used to, but the non-smokers, that would have been like hell. From this, we now have what we know as day surgery. Now, this man, he's also a devout Catholic, and before he performs any of his surgeries, he heads out to the church where he seeks communion and, of course, he prays. He then goes out, and as he makes his incisions and sutures people up, he believed it was the Lord's hand guiding him. As I said, I'm not really a religious person. I personally believe it is a testament to the mastering of those skills, but if it's his faith that kept him going, all the power to him. This is his lovely wife, Muriel, and as you can see, together, they had 10 children. Tragically, she dies quite young at 69 due to an illness that not even he could save her from. He's now left to raise 10 kids alone. As a surgeon, he works long, hard hours. It is hard, even with the eldest helping to raise the youngest. Thankfully, he meets a lovely lady by the name of Molly with 2 children of her own. The kids get along, and so too do the parents, to the end that they get married. They are here until 2002, where Louis is still a doctor, no longer a surgeon, as his hands were no longer steady, but he still had that information in his steel trap of a mind. At this point in time, he and his wife Molly head out to Toowoomba, where she was from, and that is where they would live until his passing in 2008. I love ending my tour with their story because the Catholic wedding vow, it states, "Till death do us part." However, in their case, in death, they were reunited and brought back together. And I just think that is beautiful. Molly would pass in 2019 and is buried out in Toowoomba. This is the last of our residents, but before I let you go, I do want to leave you with a wonderful quote from S.J. Brassington, a former local MP. Shall I tell you who he is? That slender, dauntless, plodding man. He is the arch in our enterprise, the Australian pioneer. And this is his one glory. He found the way. I find this to be such a fitting quote because if it was not for those pioneers finding the way, we would not find ourselves here today, and I would not get to say thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good on you. Well
I do
done.
hope you've enjoyed our time together.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Very nice.
Unfortunately, I don't have date loaf for you like we do our
I'll see you Monday then.
Oh, absolutely. I look forward to seeing you on Monday. But for everyone else, please do enjoy your time out here in Charleville. I'm not telling you to get out of the cemetery, but take your time. Enjoy if you want to walk around. When the sun does set, there are a few places around here that have solar lights rather than guiding lights. When I first moved here, I was told that some of the headstones glow. I thought, fuck yeah, glowing headstones, that'll be cool. I get out here and it's just solar lights, and I went, oh. That's cool, but also, I love your hat. Afro Blonde are amazing. My boss bought me this one to wear while here at work, but otherwise, I wear my Afro Blonde.
That's funny. You got
They're
some
bloody
comments
great.
about that, don't
Thanks
you?
very
That's
much.
amusing.
Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel.
Oh no, never. No worries. Take care.
Obviously, I'm not great.
That was interesting. I haven't really had to go to a graveyard before, which is good, so it's interesting. I think I'd like a tree on my grave. Or like a bird bath. It's crazy. Hi Eric, if you're still here.
hope you enjoyed yourself, mate.
Yeah, thank you. Well done.
No worries. Take care and safe travels.
Yeah, you too. He was a really interesting guy. I was like literally character, but like he's just like special interest is just the graves, the graveyard. So it's like I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't like this guy fully in the trench coat and everything in a costume. It was pretty cool. It was $20 for that. Like, I don't know. It's cool. I liked. What interested me the most was the Horsebreaker Aboriginal grave. That's very interesting and would make a good movie, actually. That's what I was thinking. That would be a sick movie. Anyway, very dramatic, yeah, theatrical. And every other person on that tour was a fucking grey nomad. Like all these oldies who are literally obviously caravanning around. And then there's just me, and I was late. Oh god. But like they're just, I think they might be unbearable, a lot of them, because there's like these old rich retired people, and one of them, like at least two instances I literally saw one of them walking on a grave. And then this other lady just like stood in front of me, like I don't know, they just they walk so slow. Anyway, that was cool. Like imagine that's your job. I think this tour is like 3 times a week, maybe 4. But imagine your job is just that. Now what? It's 5:40. I'm not hungry. I guess I'll just go back to the hotel room. I did the Bilby experience too. That was sick. Like that was cool. And I have a whole day of it tomorrow. There's the Bilby National Bilby Day is tomorrow, and the Bilby Festival is like there's markets. The Bilby tour thing that I did today is just open, so you don't have to do a tour. They just let you come on through. So that would be sick. I think I'm gonna go back to my motel room and just chill out a bit. Watch a movie. Got a TikTok to make. Download my photos from this morning. Well, I did half of them and then had to go. I literally took 200 photos this morning. And it took too long. That's why I was late, because I was late to my freaking graveyard tour. No, that guy was cool. He was so cool. Are you kidding? Yeah, like he met. Yeah, see, you were listening. Wow. He's like done his research. Yeah, like you can tell he's like niche. Like my autistic fixation thing is animals and birds, you know, birds mostly, but animals. His graveyards. And he's like, I don't know, he spoke to the people. That fascinates me. Like, I'm like, there's people connected to these stories. That's their ancestors and they're still here in town. The bakery I went to this morning is called Heineman's Bakery, and I saw like a couple graveyards. I don't think he mentioned that family at all, but there's a couple people with that last name on the tour. In the graveyard, not on the tour. No, he was into it. But then there was that one guy tried to fact check him about something, and I was like, shut up. One of the oldies was like something about I don't even know, the guy that made the cordial, the alcoholic cordial. And then he's tried to pull one on him. That was cool. And I'm just walking back. I was trying to be subtle about filming too, because I was like, not sure if I should. I'm really glad I did that. I thought it would be more of like a haunted vibe though. Like I was like, oh, it's gonna be like, I don't know. I thought it'd be dark by now. I don't know what, I thought they would try and like scare you in some way. I'm not sure but it's just like history, which is cool as well. But the motel I'm in does a tour. I'm staying at the coroner's place where the Harry guy talking about. So that's really cool. Maybe I should have done that tour. Maybe I should do it. I heard it this afternoon happening outside my room. And then I had to pee and I walked past the tour guide people. I don't know. This is just beautiful. But yeah, the Bilby thing I feel like so inspired. Like multiple points I teared up because I don't know. Like looking at where the Bilbys are now and where they used to be is like crazy. And then seeing the Bilby, they're so much bigger. Like they're so much bigger than I thought. There's a lesser Bilby which is extinct, which is a smaller Bilby. This is the greater Bilby, a bit larger, but it is kind of the size of a rabbit. But rabbits are endangered. Rabbits are pests, not endangered, pests. We don't like rabbits, sorry. And we don't like feral cats or wild cats, sorry. Or foxes. She's saying that like we will never get rid of feral cats or foxes. And that is just like, yeah, that just really makes you kind of, I think I don't know, she was incredible. Her name was Carmen. I hope I get to see her again tomorrow, but afterwards I was like, I was tearing up too, but I was just like, you are, I just like had a chat to her and I just thanked her, and she was like, asked me where I'm staying, where I'm from, and I was like, yada yada. And I just told her that her energy is infectious, because it is, because she was just, I don't know, she was just the way she spoke about it. And then the way that she brought up all of the stuff that people don't want to hear as well. But then made jokes, and I don't know, I think she just like kind of the way that she talks, people are listening to her. And it's so good. The room was almost full too, which is incredible. And yeah, I don't know. Just makes me so inspired to like keep doing more and do more. The Australian Wildlife Conservancy is a partnership program to the Bilby Fund, which is what these guys are doing. So they are breeding bilbies. Literally, we saw 2 bilbies getting it on. I forgot the bilby's name, but he was brought over here because he had a genetic match with the 2 or maybe even 3 or a couple of the girls. A couple of the bilby girls. Where am I going? Oh no, I think I'm going the right way. I don't know. I just ran here so fast, I have no idea where I am. I think I've got to go that way. Oh yeah, I can see the RGA. He had a genetic match. So they can do breeding. Bilbies. Marsupial, so the baby is born undeveloped, and the pregnancy is like 2 weeks or something. So she's only pregnant for 2 weeks. Then she makes that little baby. It crawls in the pouch, sucks in the teat. Can't remember how long it's in the pouch for, but it's not long. And a bilby's lifespan is, on average, roughly only 5 years. So it's a hard one. Oh, what is that bird? I don't have my camera. It's got a white head. It's like, that's cool. Anyway. Yeah, my heart is just yeah. Anyways, they built these pest-proof fences. These 2 guys raised so much money throughout the early 2000s, throughout the 2010s, and they built these fences. And these fences are pest-proof, and that's where they keep the bilby populations. So yeah, really cool. Jesus. Like these dogs would kill me given the chance. Also during the graveyard tour I saw a yellow-billed spoonbill fly over the head. Gagged. And it flew this way towards where I'm going. So that was cool. Haven't seen one of them before. Didn't get a photo, obviously. It's protected, yeah. Well, they reckon there's only, she said it's estimated like 4,000 to 5,000, I think, bilbies left. And bilbies are really good for ecosystems, as their burrows will turn the soil over, can, you know, help plants grow in the abandoned burrows and things like that. They're a food source for birds of prey. However, yeah, I can't remember the number she said on wild feral cats in the country, but it was crazy, like millions. And then foxes, like millions, they reckon. Since I've been here for like 2 days, I've seen 2 cats, 2 different cats in the street. But yeah, they've been breeding the bilbies, and they release them into the protected areas. They want to start releasing them into the outside of the areas. I don't know, it's just really cool. And yeah, it's cool to know that, well, I already knew, the Australian Wildlife Conservancy working with the Bilby Fund, so that's the one that we're raising money for. Yeah, I just feel really inspired, and I'm just kind of keep thinking, like, what can I do more? I'm someone who can't really give like money, you know what I mean? Like, outside of giving money, it's like, what else can you do? And I think that's like, awareness is the biggest thing. So I think, yeah, I would love to live here. I don't know if it's realistic or not, but that would be cool. So I also learned, what I learned about bilbies is their burrows are like, can be up to 2 meters, and it's like a corkscrew, so it's like a spiral, and that is incredible. And when they're leaving the burrow, they kind of they cover the entrance up, and then when they come back, they dig it back out. That's cool. So that, I guess, it keeps it cool, so when they come back, it's nice and cool for them, and it won't let any predators it'll stop them from getting in. So I think what I want to really do is, I don't know, raise awareness about the cat thing. I think is a big one. I need to print them out and fix them up, but I have made some new pamphlets. So I did that one drop of pamphlets which are just telling people about the impact of their outdoor cats. There is some houses for sale here, I should look. Should I ask if the Bilby Fund is hiring? They'd have a gift shop, yeah. You can buy from them. I've got this shirt, I'm gonna wear that tomorrow for Bilby Day. I bought that a long time ago. And tomorrow, like all the money from the markets and stuff, I don't know what they're gonna have, but like percentage goes back in. So I'll be opening up my purse tomorrow. I'm lucky I got some extra cash from a tip from my work, so I do have like something I can spend that won't really, hopefully, set me back too much. But that's what, like, yeah, the markets are for tomorrow, to raise money for these guys. But I think this town needs more, like, I don't know, like wildlife advocates, you know what I mean? Like, it's just not, doesn't seem like there's much of that vibe. It's a lot of, you know, it's an outback town, so look, this, oh, you got an ad. Stop talking. This land is for sale over here. I buy that. The Bilby thing is just over there. This land is for sale. It's okay, I don't think I said much. I said I'm gonna buy that block of land. And I don't know. If I was a fucking millionaire, I would just buy blocks of land and then, I don't know, put some trees there, some shit, you know. Yeah, look at the Bilby online. Order yourself something. I don't know if the ad cut me off, but I have already got a shirt. I've ordered from them before. I think I've got a Christmas card from them somewhere, which I used for a Christmas gift last year, so I might buy one again tomorrow, I think. And I've got a shirt that I'm gonna wear tomorrow. I just wanted to walk up and look at this big silo thing. some artwork of kids playing footy. Apparently this was, I think this is what he was talking about on the tour. It was built over something, maybe. Maybe this is not it. It's the underground basin. The Great Artesian Basin is one of the largest underground basins in the world. "67 towns in Queensland draw water from the Great Artesian Basin." Cool beans. Yeah, this is the 20th. I'm gonna be there. How cool is that? I'm like so excited. And it'll be all the people. It'll be all people, you know, with the same mindset, in the same area. I don't know. It's just really nice. Like, this is what inspired me to come. Literally a 16-hour train. She bought it up the thing. The train is like the train that I took here was still at the front there. I don't know what they do. I guess they just park it up until we leave next time. She brought it up. She was like, "Oh, this is the Westlander. They didn't want to take the Westlander in. Just me, no one else on the tour." She was like, "Yeah, it's not for the faint of heart because there's no sleeping cabins." And she was like, "How did you go?" I was like, "Yeah, I just didn't sleep." And it was really uncomfortable. My plan for the way back is have a massive sleep. I'm going to download a couple movies. And then, yeah, we'll see. Download some movies. I don't know how I did that. Like, that was crazy. I just stayed out the window when it was daylight the whole time. I read some of my book. I'll do that again. I read a chapter of my book. Big deal for me. David Attenborough book. And yeah. I don't know. I think the biggest thing I can do is just the power of social media and online and awareness and stuff. But you know, we're raising money and you guys have helped. Sally Kilimanjaro ran the Bilby Experience with hiring. Yeah, exactly. That's what. Well, I do have tour experience. Like, I am a tour guide at my job. I do tours, and it's animal tours. So I have the experience. So maybe I just would also need to live here, and I'd have to live here. Like, there's nothing going for rentals. I looked it up. 0 rentals. You have to buy. Unless, I don't know, maybe there's like I can like rent out a motel room or something. I don't know. Make sure you tell me you're a celebrity who's raising money. Right. Sure. There must be something on in town because a lot of people are dressing up. And there was like a band rehearsing in the town hall. And there's like a big dress up happening. What's this? September. I don't know. Like there's a lot of cars in town. Yeah, like everyone's in suits and stuff. The person that drove by just then was in a suit. There's police officers. And there's lights. Charleville Town Hall. There's like disco lights. And all these cars. Yeah, I was thinking like a grad, but it's like... No, it's like adults. It's like adults. It's like all adults dressed up in suits and stuff. That'll be fundraise. It's definitely not. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. And then people at the front were talking about tickets. It was like a band. Someone's waving and they were whistling. These people dressed up. I don't know. Lights are on, it says I can move it, so I don't know how. Let's check it out. It's nice. Oh, the emergency stuff. You googled it. You investigated it. That's incredible. This is where I'm living. House tour. Do you want the house tour? Yeah, that's fun. They did look like. Yeah, they looked. The people that I saw looked, you know, like they would be doing that. Tiny room. Yep, little room. My little room. My little room. And look how the floors creak. Oh, I forgot to get my kombucha in the fridge. Maybe someone stole it. Historic, exactly. They had the tour down there. There's all this stuff. This is the shared bathroom. It's a vibe. It's a whole vibe. I haven't heard any ghosts because last night I was out because I didn't sleep. Oh, I had the best sleep. Like, I got the aircon going. Matter of fact, let's get it going again. Get the AC on. And I watched Queer, the movie. There's Netflix. I watched Queer with by Luca Guadagnino with Daniel Craig, and hear me out. I think that queer actors should play queer characters, but he kind of ate that shit up. The other actor, I don't know. He was attractive, you know. I think that's what he was there for, to be attractive. He didn't really have much. Like, they could have just hired any attractive person to play that character, and you would think that the character's first language wasn't English, because he just didn't really say anything, and that's fine. Maybe that's just the character, I don't know. But it was also like a closeted, maybe it was like meant to be like, because he was like closeted. The intention, yeah. I think it was done right. I think Luca Guadagnino, I'm pretty sure he's gay, because he did Call Me By Your Name. Like, that's both, you know, that's like 2 gay movies, he must be. I liked it. It got weird, and I like that. I like weird. I didn't really understand what happened though. It was kind of jumpy a bit. I didn't feel like, I didn't really leave the movie feeling much. Like, I didn't really, you know, when you watch a movie and you're like, holy shit. I kind of was like, oh, okay. No, I like the weird shit. I did like the weird shit. And I like that the start of it's not weird, and then it gets weird. It's like it traps you. I don't know. The start of it's very like interesting. And then I don't know, I need to Google it, but some of the scenes look like AI. Some of the CGI looks like AI. So in that case, I revert everything I say and I hate the movie. Like, some of the scenes, there's one where a plane takes off, even when there's like cars, it looks like stop motion or AI. Or it's just weird CGI because he wanted it to look weird. And when they're on like psychedelics and they're like conjoining, it looks like AI. But maybe it's not. Maybe AI makes me think, look, everything looks like AI. I really don't like AI. Except for if it's used for good, like they're using AI to make entrances in the pest-proof fences. The AI can track whether it's a fox or a cat or something, and it won't let it through the gate. And it also like sprays it or something. That's good AI. You could be AI. Hey, that's fine. You're the only chatter. Maybe that's fine if you're AI. You got to take some things. You got to take what you can get. Yes, Call Me By Your Name has Timothée Chalamet. The only thing that I'm struggling with is that the shower water smells like sewage water. And I like really don't want to shower again. Because I didn't shower this morning, and I usually always shower in the morning. But I'll have to. Have I ever acted? Yeah, I went to acting school. I went to film school, and I did a diploma in screen and media, and I've done a couple short films. As an extra, but I've never like done it much else. I kind of stopped doing it. I would do it again, but it's not something I want to actively pursue, you know. If they made a movie about bilbies, ooh, I want to see. I haven't even seen it. I think one is called The Funeral Planner. That's like the most recent one I did, or maybe it was like over a year ago or more. That was cool. It was about this lady that's like planning her funeral while she's alive, and I just was a background because I don't know, felt like doing it. And these like student films, so like it's unpaid. I don't know if I got a credit for them. And then I forgot the rest. There was like a rugby one. And then there was like a trans one as well. I can't remember that one. Or like a trans race car driver. I think. That was cool. And then the director for that unfollowed me on Instagram. So I must have done a bad job. I thought we were friends. Turns out she hates me and wants me to die, so. I would do more like extra work. It's fun. There's no pressure. You just stand there and mouth, pretend to eat, and then you wait around for hours on end and meet the weirdest people you've ever met in your life. Aspiring actors, the craziest people. No offense. I should like look into it more, but I just don't have time. Like I work every day. I'm not crazy. I'm not an aspiring actor anymore. I definitely felt like I didn't fit in though with like anytime we would get on a set or even like people in my class. I felt like I can hardly talk to these people because I don't know, they're so networky, like they just like, it's like at all times they're reading from their resume. And they're trying to be so lovely and so like liked by everyone on set. That it's like, I don't know. I just don't know. And they're extroverts. I'm not an extrovert. I know that all actors are extroverts. It's not like you can't be an extrovert if you're not an extrovert, but it's like, I don't know. And then I just didn't have the passion. If I would love to do something that has meaning. If they should make a movie about the guy that made the Bilby Fund, then I'll get in that movie. And I will portray him. That's when I'm on board. You would love to act, never tried it, you should. Just go do like a short film. You can just apply online, like anyone can just go get on a set. and just start with being an extra, background extra, and then you might meet someone who's working on another project, or I don't know. You might get lucky, they might give you lines on the day, who knows. It's really cool feeling, like it's cool, like that's why I like being a part of it, being a part of the creative process and seeing it all coming together. I like the creative aspects, but it's like really tough otherwise. Like, get an agent, go to 1 million auditions, get none of them, update your fucking headshots all the time. You could do it, literally anyone could do it. That's what it was, that's what it's about. You were made fun of, oh. Well, now you're an adult, who cares? Who cares about being made fun of as an adult? I don't. Except if they're violently gonna be violent, then I'm scared. Some people are scary. Okay, well, I'm gonna go. Thank you for joining my graveyard tour and having a chat. Maybe I'll stream the Bilby Festival tomorrow, or I am going to get up early and go bird watching again. I think the Bilby Festival starts at 10, so if I get up at sunrise, we might do another bird watching stream. You're gonna sub as soon as you can. Don't worry about it. Do not worry about that. If you can't afford it, that's fine. Just being here is amazing. You watched an ad. That's enough. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. In between jobs, that sucks, I'm sorry. You don't need to worry about subscribing to me. I'm sure you'll find a job soon. A job that you love. Yeah, you don't need to subscribe to me. You just need to be here and chat. Unless you don't want to watch ads, then well, that's kind of the only way. I think I have the ads set to like the lowest possible thing. And you gave bits. I can see you have a bid badge. And I probably missed it because I don't have alerts. Don't subscribe. I don't have alerts. I'll miss it. That's the thing. Like, why aren't they working? I put them in. God. Yeah. What was I going to say? Save your money, don't subscribe to me. Just watch. Make a clip. Chat. Keep an eye out, thank you. Thank you. I'll fix it eventually. Well, the budget, we don't have a budget. Okay, the stream is just turn on phone. I've got the chat on screen. That's great. That's one thing. Like, come on. What more do you want? But I would like the donation alerts to go off because I feel bad. I should mod you. This is true. The old mods have not been here. We've got, well, Mermixed has been here. We've got Mermixed. Rohelios is here sometimes. Golden Force has popped in since I've returned to streaming. And then if I mod you, everyone's a mod. That's it. No, we got JD, we got Spoon Mage. Who else have we got? There was a bot. I don't give a fuck about the bot. I don't need it. I don't care too much about having things in order yet. What is that? Wings. Is that a follower badge? I can't remember. Sunflower. It's iconic. That's iconic. And you know, the frog is iconic. When I made the frog, they were hating on the frog. People did not like the frog emoji. It's amazing. I think it's stood the test of time. The platter. We need a Bilby emoji. We need a Bilby emoji. Why? They just didn't get the vision. And now, look at the frog is the most used emoji on all of Twitch, I heard, apparently. I don't know. Don't check my source. Okay, we need a Bilby emoji. When I get home, I'll try and remember to do that. Okay. Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.